I wake before the sun. The air is cool, dense with moisture from the night. Somewhere in the canopy above, a bird calls, sharp, insistent. I've been walking for 3 days to get here, following stories told by elders in a village 2 valleys over. Stories about a saint who built a church alone. A church that still stands, 500 years later, forgotten by everyone except the forest. I push through the last wall of vegetation and stop. There it is. Stone walls rise from the jungle floor, dark volcanic rock covered in moss and vines. The roof is gone, long since collapsed or claimed by time. But the walls remain, thick, solid, stubborn. An altar sits exposed to the sky, cracked down the middle but still recognizable. Around the clearing, massive trees have grown close, their roots pushing against the foundation but never quite toppling it. The morning light filters through the canopy in pale shafts, illuminating dust and pollen floating in the still air. I set my pack down carefully. My hands are shaking slightly. Not from exhaustion, from something else. This place was built by one man, a saint, they called him. Not because of miracles, because he refused to give up. Abandoned by his community, cast out for reasons lost to time, he came here with nothing and built this church stone by stone, alone. It took him years. And when he finished, he lived here until he died, praying in a church no one else would ever see. I walk the perimeter slowly. The walls are taller than I expected, 12 feet at their lowest point, 15 at the peak where the roof once connected. The stones are massive, each one the size of a man's torso, fitted together without mortar. I run my hand along the surface. The stone is cold, textured with age. In some places, the moss peels away easily. In others, it's become part of the rock itself, fused by centuries. I circle back to the entrance. The doorway is intact, a perfect arch, narrow and tall. The threshold stone is worn smooth in the center, where feet once passed. I step inside. The space is smaller than it looks from outside, maybe 20 feet wide, 40 feet long, but the height makes it feel vast. Open to the sky now, but I can imagine what it was like with a roof. Shadowed, cool, echoing with prayer. I close my eyes and listen. Wind through leaves, distant water, a stream, maybe a quarter-mile east, insects humming in the undergrowth. I know why I'm here. I knew before I started walking. I'm going to rebuild this church, not restore it, rebuild it, the way the saint did, with my hands, with the forest, with time. I open my eyes and get to work. The first day is about understanding. I clear the interior carefully, removing fallen branches and centuries of leaf litter. Beneath the debris, I find the original floor, flat stones laid in a pattern, herringbone style. Most are still intact. I sweep them clean with a bundle of stiff grass, working slowly. Each stone reveals itself gradually, gray, black, some with flecks of red. Volcanic rock, like the walls. He must have quarried it from somewhere nearby. By midday, the floor is visible again. I step back and look. The pattern is beautiful, simple but deliberate. Whoever laid these stones cared about the work, cared about making something worthy. I spend the afternoon exploring the surrounding forest, looking for materials. I need to understand what the saint had access to, what he used. 100 yards north, I find it. An outcrop of volcanic rock, the same dark stone. Some of it has fractured naturally, split along clean lines. I run my hand over a piece. It's dense, heavy, but workable. This is where he got the stones. I can see where pieces were removed, though the gaps are overgrown now. I also find acacia trees, dozens of them, their wood hard and resistant to rot, perfect for beams and framing, and bamboo, thick stands of it growing near the stream. The saint would have used all of this. He would have worked with what the forest gave him. As the sun sets, I make camp just outside the church walls. I build a small fire and cook rice with dried fish. The flames throw shadows against the stone, and for a moment I can almost see him, the saint, sitting here 500 years ago, eating his own simple meal after a day of building. Did he feel lonely, or was the work enough? Did he doubt, or was his faith so complete that doubt never entered? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Day 2 begins with the walls. I need to stabilize what's here before I can think about a roof. Some sections have shifted slightly, stones settling over the centuries. I start at the southeast corner, where the damage is most visible. I carefully remove the top 2 layers of stone, setting each one aside. Beneath, the foundation is still solid. The saint built deep. I mix mud and ash from my fire. Not mortar, but something to fill the gaps and lock the stones in place. It's what he would have used. No cement, no modern adhesives, just earth and fire. I work the mixture with my hands until it's the right consistency. Thick, but pliable. Then I begin resetting the stones. Each one weighs 40-50 pounds. I lift them carefully, testing the fit before committing. The goal is to interlock them, to let the weight and shape hold everything together. It's a puzzle with no instructions. I shift a stone half an inch to the left, too far, back to the right. There. It settles into place with a satisfying solidity. I pack mud around the edges and move to the next one. The work is slow. By evening, I've only repaired 6 feet of wall. My hands are raw, streaked with mud and ash. My shoulders ache, but the wall is solid again. I run my hand along the repaired section. You can barely tell where my work ends and the original begins. That night, I dream about stones. The next 3 days blur together. I fall into a rhythm. Wake at dawn. Eat quickly. Work on the walls until the sun is too high and hot. Then rest in the shade, drinking water from the stream. Resume in the late afternoon, working until the light fades. The walls rise inch by inch. I move around the perimeter, section by section, testing every stone, reinforcing anything that shifted. On the 5th day, I finish the walls. They're complete again, standing tall, solid, exactly as the saint built them. I walk the perimeter one more time, checking my work. It's good. It'll last. Now comes the hard part, the roof. I spend a day at the stream, cutting bamboo. I need dozens of poles, long straight ones for the main frame, shorter sections for crossbeams. I cut each one carefully with my handsaw, leaving the nodes intact for strength. Then I drag them back to the church, 2 or 3 at a time. It takes all day. By evening, I have a pile of bamboo stacked beside the walls, enough to start. The next morning, I begin the frame. I need to build a structure that can support a thatched roof without internal columns. The interior needs to stay open. The solution is triangular trusses, just like the saint would have done. I lash together bamboo poles with rope made from stripped bark, creating A-frame supports. Each truss is 8 feet wide at the base, tapering to a peak 15 feet up. I lift the first truss into place. It's heavier than I expected. I brace it against the wall, then climb up carefully, balancing on the stones. I secure it with more rope, anchoring it to the wall itself. The first one wobbles. I add diagonal supports, lashing them tight. It stabilizes. By the end of the day, I have 3 trusses in place, spaced evenly along the length of the church. I step back and look. The skeleton of a roof. It's starting to look like something again. The next 2 days are for the crossbeams and the lattice. I cut thinner bamboo poles and lash them horizontally across the trusses, creating a grid. This is what the thatch will rest on. The work is repetitive but satisfying. Each beam locked into place is progress. The grid grows denser. On the 10th day, I start the thatch. I've been gathering materials for this all week. Palm fronds from the forest edge, dried grasses from the clearing. I bundle them tightly and begin layering them onto the lattice, working from the bottom up. Each bundle overlaps the one below it, creating a waterproof seal. The technique is ancient, simple, effective. The work is tedious. My fingers cramp from tying knots. The sun beats down, but slowly the roof takes shape. The thatch is thick, golden brown, rustling softly in the breeze. By the end of the day, one side is covered. I sit inside the church and look up. Half the sky is still visible, but half is blocked by thatch. It's working. 2 more days. That's all it takes. I work steadily, methodically, covering every inch of the lattice with thatch. No gaps, no weak points. When I tie the last bundle into place, the sun is setting. I climb down and step back. The church has a roof again. I walk inside. The space is transformed. Shadowed now, cool, protected. The light filters through gaps in the thatch, creating patterns on the stone floor. I stand in the center and listen. The sounds of the forest are muted here. Softer, The wind moves through the thatch with a gentle whisper. For the first time in 500 years, this church is whole again, but I'm not finished. Over the next week, I work on the details. I carve benches from fallen acacia wood. Simple, solid, no decoration. 4 benches, 2 on each side, leaving a narrow aisle down the center. I place them carefully, positioning them the way I imagined they once were. I repair the altar. The crack down the middle can't be fixed, but I can stabilize it. I pack the gap with mud and ash, then smooth the surface. I carve a new cross from acacia wood and set it upright at the back of the altar. It's crude, rough, but honest. It belongs here. I make a door, not a real door. Just a woven bamboo screen that can be tied back during the day and closed at night. It hangs in the archway, swaying slightly. A threshold, a boundary between the church and the forest. I clean everything. I sweep the floor again, removing every trace of construction debris. I wipe down the walls, clearing away loose dirt and dust. I arrange stones around the base of the altar, smooth river stones, black and gray, each one carefully chosen. By the end of the second week, the church is finished. I sit on one of the benches and rest. My body aches. My hands are covered in cuts and calluses, but I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Not pride exactly, something quieter, satisfaction, completeness. I think about the saint, about what drove him to build this place alone. Was it faith? Stubbornness? A need to create something that would outlast him? Maybe all of those things. Maybe none of them matter. What matters is this. He built it, and it stood, and now it stands again. That night, I sleep inside the church for the first time. I lie on the stone floor, wrapped in a thin blanket, looking up at the shadowed thatch above me. The sounds of the forest drift in. Night birds, insects, the distant rustle of something moving through undergrowth. But inside, it's peaceful, safe. I close my eyes and listen to the wind moving through the thatch. It sounds like breathing, like the church itself is alive. On the third week, I don't build. I live. I wake with the sun and sit on the threshold, watching light move across the clearing. I cook simple meals over a small fire outside and eat sitting on the benches inside. I walk the forest, gathering fruit and water. I return to the church each evening and sit quietly as the light fades. I don't pray. I've never been good at that, but I sit in the silence and let it fill me. That feels like enough. One evening, as I'm sitting inside, I hear something. Footsteps. Human footsteps. Careful and hesitant. I stand and move to the doorway. An old woman stands at the edge of the clearing. She's leaning on a walking stick, staring at the church with wide eyes. She says something in a language I don't fully understand, but the meaning is clear. Shock, disbelief. I step aside and gesture toward the entrance. She approaches slowly, cautiously. She touches the doorframe, then the stones of the wall. She looks up at the roof, at the cross on the altar. Her hand goes to her mouth. She steps inside. I watch as she walks the length of the church, running her fingers along the benches, the walls, the altar. She kneels before the cross and closes her eyes. Her lips move silently. After a long moment, she stands and turns to me. She says something I don't understand, but she takes my hand and holds it between both of hers. Her eyes are wet. She nods once, firmly, then releases my hand and leaves. I stand in the doorway and watch her disappear into the forest. I realize something then. This church was never just about the saint. It was never just about me. It's about continuity, about the refusal to let something good disappear, about the belief that some things are worth preserving, worth rebuilding, worth passing on. The saint built it alone. I rebuilt it alone. But it doesn't belong to either of us. It belongs to anyone who needs it, anyone who finds it, anyone who sits in its shadows and feels peace. 2 days later, I pack my things. I've stayed longer than I planned. It's time to go. But before I leave, I do one last thing. I carve a date into the stone beside the doorway. Not my name, just the year, a marker, so anyone who comes after will know when the church was reborn. I shoulder my pack and take one last look. The church stands solid and quiet in the morning light. The thatch roof gleams gold. The walls are dark and strong. It looks like it's been here forever, like it will be here forever. I step through the doorway and start walking. I don't look back. I don't need to. I know it's there. I know it will be there long after I'm gone. The forest closes around me. Birds call overhead. The path ahead is unclear, but that's okay. I'll find my way. I always do. And somewhere behind me, in a forgotten clearing, a church stands, waiting, ready, for the next person who needs it, for the next 500 years.